In a universe woven from the threads of impermanence and emptiness, shunyata, where everything is a dance of arising and ceasing, why do our individual lives seem to be sculpted by the invisible hand of destiny? Why are some born into comfort while others grow up in hardship? Why do events strike us, seemingly at random, yet fit the narrative of our lives with an eerie precision? The ancient sages called this invisible hand karma. It is a word both familiar and mysterious, often misunderstood as a system of reward and punishment from some supernatural force. But what if the truth is far simpler and far more scientific? What if destiny is not a pre-written sentence, but an architectural masterpiece, and we ourselves, consciously or unconsciously, are the architects? Today we will deconstruct this grand design together, to see that behind the mystical veil of karma lie the precise, operational laws of consciousness, habit, and the universe itself. Where does the construction of this grand architecture of destiny begin? Not from an external force, but from the most subtle and intimate place of all: a thought. In Buddhism, this is called katana, or intention. A thought is not merely a fleeting image or sound in our heads. From the perspective of modern physics, every thought is an impulse of energy, a vibrational frequency. When you generate a thought of gratitude, you are emitting a harmonious frequency of energy. When you dwell in resentment, you are creating a chaotic vibration, much like the observer effect in quantum physics, where the conscious act of observation can alter the state of a fundamental particle. Our focused thoughts are the very first observation, beginning to collapse the infinite potentials of reality into a specific trajectory. A single thought, as tiny as a seed, carries within it the entire potential of a future sequoia tree the moment it is planted in the soil of the mind. Compassion begins with a single thought of wanting to share. A malicious plan also begins with a single thought of greed or envy. This is the very first brick, the first pencil stroke on the blueprint of destiny. A solitary thought is as ephemeral as mist, but when it is repeated, nourished by our attention, it compels an action. Action is the crucial step of converting energy from the invisible world of consciousness into the tangible world of matter. When you act, you not only affect the external world, you also create a profound imprint within your own biological structure. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. Our brain is not a fixed block of matter. It is constantly changing, forging new neural connections based on what we do, think, and feel. Every time you perform an action, whether it's a kind word or an irritable gesture, an electrical signal travels through a network of neurons. The first time, this path may be weak and rugged, but if you repeat that action, the brain recognizes, this is an important road, and it begins to pave it, coating the neuron's axons with a myelin sheath, which helps the signal travel faster and more efficiently. This is the scientific mechanism of karmic imprinting. With every action, good or bad, we are personally carving a path through the dense jungle of our own minds. When a footpath is trodden upon enough times, it becomes a wide road, and then a sprawling superhighway. This is the point where action transforms into habit. Habit is a magnificent mechanism of nature, designed to help us conserve energy. You don't have to consciously think about how to brush your teeth or drive a car every day. The brain has automated these processes, but this very automation is a double-edged sword. It doesn't distinguish between good habits and bad habits. Once a habit is formed, control is transferred to more unconscious parts of the brain, like the basal ganglia. It no longer requires the permission of the conscious mind. This is when we begin to feel stuck. The person addicted to smoking doesn't truly want the next cigarette, but an invisible force from within compels them. The person who often complains doesn't want to be negative. but the grievances automatically spill from their lips. This is the moment karma begins to flex its power. It is no longer a conscious choice but an unconscious reflex, a pre-installed program. As analyzed in the reference text, we are not just addicted to a chemical substance, but more deeply, we are addicted to the feeling that the habit provides. A feeling of safety, relief, or familiarity. We become addicted to the familiarity of the very prison we have built. The collection of these habitual superhighways shapes the entire landscape of our mind, and that landscape is what we call character. Character is not some mysterious God-given trait. It is the product, the predictable result of the habits we have cultivated over the years. A person with the habit of listening and understanding will be known for their empathetic character. A person with the habit of procrastinating and blaming others will carry the character of someone who lacks responsibility. Character, in essence, is a person's dominant vibrational frequency. It is the music that the symphony of your neurons plays most often. And just like music, it has an attractive force. A person who constantly plays the music of joy and generosity will naturally attract people and circumstances that resonate with that frequency. Conversely, a person perpetually immersed in the music of doubt and fear will find their life filled with reasons to doubt and fear. This is not superstition. This is the law of energetic attraction operating with precision. Your character is a magnet, constantly pulling towards you the pieces of life that correspond to the magnetic field it emits. And finally, once the magnet of character has been firmly established, it will determine the course of the entire ship of life. This is the moment when character creates destiny. Destiny is not a destination pre-written on some cosmic map. Destiny is the inevitable consequence, the logical outcome of the millions, even billions, of small choices we have made in the past. Choices that have crystallized into the character we embody today. Imagine the rudder of a massive ship. A habit is like adjusting that rudder by a single millimeter. Initially, the change is negligible, but over a long voyage of thousands of miles, that 1 millimeter deviation will lead the ship to an entirely different continent. A person with a character of perseverance and a love for learning, regardless of their starting point, will find their destiny to be one of success and wisdom over many years. A person with a character of hot temper and selfishness, even with every advantage in hand, will find their destiny to be one of loneliness and broken relationships. This is the closed loop of karma. Thought sows action. Action reaps habit. Habit reaps character. And character reaps destiny. We are the architect, the builder, and the sole inhabitant of this edifice of fate. So why do we often feel helpless before our destiny? Why does karma seem like an external force being imposed upon us? It is because of a process I call the great forgetting. We have forgotten that we ourselves initiated it all. The process from thought to habit happens gradually, and much of it operates in the realm of the unconscious. By the time our character is formed, we identify with it completely. We say, I am a short-tempered person, or it's just my nature to worry, not realizing that these are merely installed programs, neural superhighways that have become too heavily fortified. We mistake the software for the hardware. We believe this character is our immutable essence, and from that belief, we abdicate our power to change. We become prisoners who have fallen in love with their own chains, because at least those chains are familiar and provide a false sense of security. We have forgotten that we are the architect, and mistakenly believe we are merely a powerless resident living in a building we have no right to renovate. How do we break free from this great forgetting? How do we reclaim our role as the architect? The answer lies in an extraordinary capacity that everyone possesses, yet few utilize: the knowing. The reference text mentioned 3 levels of knowing. Here, we are not talking about the knowing of intellect, of analysis by the left brain. We are speaking of a pure, non-attached, non-judgmental knowing. In Zen, it is called awareness nature. In other traditions, it might be called the silent watcher or Buddha nature. This is the ability to take a step back and observe the flow of our own consciousness. You can observe an angry thought arise without being swept away by it. You can recognize a craving emerge without needing to act on it. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. The knowing is the ability to inhabit that space. This is the moment of freedom, the point where we can break the chain of karma. When you can see a thought as just a thought, an emotion as just energy passing through, they lose their power over you. You don't need to suppress or destroy them. You simply shine the light of the knowing upon them, and they naturally dissolve, like fog dissipating in the morning sun. Recognizing the old karmic paths is the first step. But it is not enough. To truly change our destiny, we must proactively build new neural superhighways. This is a task that requires persistence and diligence. It is like a person wanting to abandon a familiar highway to venture onto a rugged trail in the forest. It will be difficult and strenuous at first. The mind will constantly pull you back to the comfort of the old habit. This is where we need practical tools. Morality, Sila, is not a set of restrictive rules, but protective fences that prevent you from accidentally wandering onto negative karmic paths. Concentration, samadhi, through practices like meditation, is the process of focusing energy to level and widen the new path. Every time you sit, focus on your breath, and gently bring your mind back when it wanders. You are reinforcing the path of peace and clarity. Wisdom, Pana, is the insight born from that practice, helping you see clearly the impermanent, unsatisfactory and selfless nature of all things, which helps you release your attachment to the feelings that the old habits provided. This is the process of replacing an old program with a new one, a complete reprogramming of the mind's operating system. Karma does not only operate on an individual level. We live in an ocean of energy, where everything is invisibly connected. Scientists call these quantum fields. Carl Jung called it the collective unconscious. Every action, every thought you have not only creates karma for yourself, it also sends a ripple out, affecting the entire ocean. When you practice compassion, you are not just changing your own vibrational frequency, you are helping to raise the collective frequency of the planet. Conversely, an act of hatred also sows negative seeds into the collective field of consciousness. This is the concept of collective karma. We share the destiny of our family, our community, our nation, and all of humanity. Therefore, transforming your own karma is not a selfish act. It is the most precious gift you can offer to the world. By healing your own garden, you are helping to make the entire world greener. You are not an isolated island. You are a cell in the great body of life. Your health affects the health of the entire body. So, what is the ultimate goal of this journey of karmic transformation? Is it to erase all bad karma and accumulate as much good karma as possible to secure a peaceful and happy destiny? That is a noble goal, but it is not the final destination. As long as there is a creator of karma and a receiver of its fruits, we are still bound within the cycle of duality, of good and bad, of gain and loss. The ultimate liberation, nirvana, is not about achieving a better destiny. It is the transcendence of the very concept of destiny itself. It is when the architect realizes they are not separate from the architecture. It is when the knowing no longer observes the objects of the mind, but turns back to recognize itself. A clear, open, infinite space. In that space, there is no creator of karma, no karma being created, and no consequence to be borne. There is only the flow of life, manifesting naturally. This is the return to emptiness, shunyata, not as annihilation, but as the realization of the non-fixed, interdependent, and empty nature of all phenomena, including karma itself. At that point, you are no longer the architect struggling with the blueprint. You are the space that allows the entire architecture of the universe to freely manifest. You no longer try to determine destiny. You become the dance of life itself. This is episode 14 in our 111 video series on cosmic energy, where science and spirituality meet to help you better understand yourself and the evolution of consciousness. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next video. Now, I want you to take a moment to reflect. What brick are you holding in your hand today? And will you use it to build the wall of a prison, or the foundation of a temple of freedom for your own destiny? Share your answer in the comments below.